Greetings everyone. This is a very special train video that I've made. Back in 2013, I was on one of the model railroad forums and I met this guy who I refer to as Sir John or Sir John of Georgia. And the reason that I make the distinction is because one of the operators of my railroad here in New Jersey is also a John, or I refer to him as NJ John. So we do have some clarification. Make no mistake about it. Anyway, John and I became very good friends, and of course, he's into model railroading. He has his own layout down in Georgia. In addition, he's a very good painter. He's painted probably 99% of my freight cars here. And we're going to do a little special tribute to Sir John of Georgia and all of the AP freight cars that he has painted, including one caboose. Now, the engines were painted by a friend of mine up in Massachusetts. He's done all the AP engines, and you'll see a few of them on the railroad here tonight. So let's start off with the first train. This is a number of boxcars that John had painted for me. The first set that you're going to see on the roll by are a bunch of Scale Trains RBL boxcars. And John has a number of these like car numbers on his railroad as well. What I would normally do is give him a bunch of freight cars. He would paint for me and paint some for himself. Then we went back to Scale Trains for more of these RBL cars, and we did a little bit different paint scheme. So while we had a lot of box cars, we needed some reefers. So I sent John a number of reefers, and these are 57-foot mechanical reefers from Athearn. And then John had done up a couple of 40-foot box cars for me. Now let's add to that the next set of trains to come by. These are more specialty type trains that John had painted for me. So the first set you're going to see, besides the engines, are some ballast cars that I sent to John. He sent me one, and I said, no, you can't have just one. So I picked up a few more, and John painted them up. And then I sent him some gondolas, and he did them. Plus, he did some custom loads. The majority of the loads in here, John did. And of course, since I have a power plant, what power plant wouldn't be complete without some coal hopper cars? John did those as well. And then we've got a few other specialty cars. I picked up a really good deal on some cylindrical hoppers, and he painted a number of those. And then, because I have an auto parts, John did up a number of 86-foot auto box cars in two paint schemes and a few different decal designations. And this recently arrived on the railroad. John gave this to me as a gift, this caboose, which is really, really nice. So our first roll by is the GP60s. Our next roll by are all the specialty freight cars with a Dash 8 40B and a U-boat behind it. Another ride by. And we're going to have a little bit of a meet, as you'll see in a couple of seconds. And that's a wrap. Sir John, this video's for you. Now that you've seen all of the Atlantic Pacific freight cars that I have on my railroad, Sir John has his own railroad called the Empire Belt Railroad. And over the years, we've been swapping equipment so that when we do our virtual operating sessions through our blogs, you'll see the same light cars appear on John's railroad, my railroad, and the third participant in our virtual ops, which we call Penn Central Car Movements, is PC Ralph. And Ralph is based in Minneapolis, and he has his railroad based on the Penn Central area as well as John. So they do Penn Central, New York Central, some New Haven, Lehigh Valley. Ralph has some D&H on there and some Boston and Maine, as well as his own private Kingsport and Western Railroad. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little roll by with some of the equipment that John has sent me, or we've swapped out, or he's given me a number of them as some gifts over the years. Thank you, John. As well as some of the equipment that Ralph and I have swapped or has given me over the years as well. Thank you, Ralph. So the first piece of equipment that you're going to see is the engine that John had sent a while ago. One of his other gifts. Nice Jeep with his Empire Belt markings. Some coal cars, a couple of 40-foot box cars, double door box car, another 50-foot box car, and of course John and I have the reefer cars. And we also have a few gondolas as well. Can't forget the auto rack car. This is John's Empire Belt New York Central 86-foot auto box car. And we have some of Ralph's cars. We've got some 50-foot box cars. A couple of double doors coming up in his Kingsport and Weston. A really nice logo there. And of course, got a couple of coal cars, and we can't forget the Empire Belt caboose that John had sent as well. And of course, we've got to have one roll by. And that's a wrap.